Hello, everyone. Thank you for being able to attend today. My name is Adriana Bedford, and I would first like to apologize for my camera quality. It is not the best, but technology is always not our friend. So when life gives us lemons, we make lemonade and try to make the best out of our situations. So I'm going to go ahead and get this show on the road and start my presentation for today. Today, I will be talking about resilience, letting it go, resilience in the Frozen franchise. To start off, an overview of what I will be discussing today. I'll start off by discussing what resilience is. I'll explain what determination is in connection with resilience, as well as provide examples from Frozen. I will discuss grief and its connection to resilience with connections from Frozen, as well as what self-esteem is in connection to resilience, and again, provide examples from Frozen. I also, to further my research, went ahead and conducted 2 interviews with 2 individuals codenamed Jane and Olivia. A little background on Jane is that she's a mother of 5. She watches a lot of TV considering she's home a lot. And then Olivia, she's a 19-year-old college student who watches a lot of TV herself, but not as much as Jane considering she spends a lot of time doing schoolwork. So what is resilience? According to Meadows, Miller, and Robertson from their Understanding Resilience, resilience is the ability of an individual to bounce back after experiencing stress. In other words, it's just being able to recover when you are in a situation where there's some kind of difficulty. In resilience, there are a number of emotions that an individual may deal with. Most of the time, though, the end goal is to reach a point of satisfaction in your life, or in a better sense, a sense of happiness. So determination. Determination is having a sense of purpose. In terms of resilience, determination is having a reason to keep going. Typically, there is a motive within someone that gives them a drive to reach a goal. Determination itself comes from a strong sense of self-confidence, and self-confidence is the ability within to feel as if you can do something. And in terms of determination and resilience, if you lack self-confidence, you do not have the drive or motive to believe that you are able to complete a goal, and it holds you back a lot. It's also critical that one is also cautious of not becoming overconfident, because when you're overconfident or in any sense overly determined, there's a false sense that makes someone believe that a goal is obtainable, when in actuality, the goal itself is foolishly unrealistic and it's very hard to reach. And that's something you want to try to avoid when you're trying to be resilient, because if you overshoot yourself, then you will face more feelings of less self-confidence because your goal may not have been obtained like you had planned. So for my interview, one question I asked was, from either of the movies, can you give me an example where you feel like any of the characters expressed determination? One of the people, Jane, like I said in previous, paused for a second before saying, I believe Elsa has always showed determination, especially in Frozen 2, because at this point, she has already learned how to deal with her powers in the first Frozen, but she is diligent in trying to understand where her powers come from. And if we remember the first Frozen, for some of us who have seen it, Elsa appeared to have a lack of self-confidence, and that comes from her powers and being afraid that she will not be able to control them. When she was growing up, she was told, conceal, don't feel, don't let it show, because originally her powers were seen as a curse. And she spent much of her childhood in her room, so she wouldn't run the chance into hurting anyone again. But towards the end of the movie, Elsa had gained a sense of self-confidence that came from the love she and her sister had for each other. In Frozen 2, Elsa used her self-confidence to tame angry spirits that she had to awaken as she ventured to find sources for her power. In the end, her self-confidence helped fuel her determination to learn more about herself, which in turn provided her the emotional strength that she needed in order to resiliently storm through her many challenges to reach her end goal, which was to understand who she was, not just from her powers, but as in who she is by herself. In terms of grief, Grief it's categorized as having a deep sorrow or extreme sadness. When looking at grief in connection to resilience, grief takes away from having the motivation to push through anything. And it's completely opposite from determination, because determination, you have the drive to keep going and you want to keep going. But with grief, you feel like a heavy weight is on your shoulder. And when dealing with grief, people tend to learn how to cope in order to keep going. And without the skills of coping, you don't want to keep going. For this part of the interview, I asked, can you provide an example from the movies where any of the characters experienced grief? Olivia responded, in the first Frozen, both of the sisters showed grief when the parents died, but Elsa expressed it more in the first movie. In Frozen 2, Anna expressed grief when both Elsa and Olaf died. So there are two forms of coping. There's passive and active coping. Passive coping is where an individual tends to avoid the negative feelings they have in life, while active copers work to face the problem head on and try to figure out ways to work through their feelings. In Frozen, Anna and Elsa's parents both die in a shipwreck in the first movie. Elsa appears to take more of a passive approach in coping with the grief associated with their death, considering that her parents were her security blanket when it came to facing uncertainties that came with her powers. Anna, on the other hand, was more active because she just wanted to keep going, especially in Frozen 2, when she was trapped in the cave with Olaf when Elsa went too far into Holland and gave her life for the truth of the past. With Elsa gone and her trapped in the cave and Olaf also gone, she was feeling really bummed out. But she knew that if she was going to get out of the cave and help save her people in Arendelle and the people hidden in the mist and whatnot, that she had to get out of that cave and she had to keep going. And she even has her musical number called The Next Right Thing, where she's singing about having to keep going even though times are hard and she doesn't want to. But that's what being resilient is not wanting to at times, but still being able to keep going when you don't want to. So when we look at self-esteem, self-esteem is the confidence in one's own worth or abilities. So simply put, self-esteem is the respect that someone has for themselves. It is believed that self-esteem is linked to increased persistence and active problem solving when faced with setbacks that prevent someone from reaching their goal. And in this interview, I asked, what is an example from the movies where a character exhibited a problem with their self-esteem? Both Jane and Olivia pointed to Frozen 2 because throughout the movie, Kristoff is trying to propose to Anna, but every time he tries, it backfires. In the movie, there are 3 times when Kristoff tries to propose to Anna, but it fails. There was a time during charades, when they're in the cart on their way to trying to find the answers and solutions to what's happening to Arendelle, and again, when he's trying to propose with a bunch of reindeer. And each time he fails, there's a feeling of a less self-esteem because he's starting to question his relationship with Anna. He's starting to question himself. Is he worthy enough of a man to marry her, because everything in life is setting him back from where he wants to go. But he still keeps going, and eventually towards the end, him and Anna are engaged and they receive their own happily ever after. So in conclusion, overall, the Frozen movie showed resilience through the process of growing up by demonstrating real emotions that the characters feel that correlate to how people feel when they're thrown into situations that are similar to what the characters were feeling in the movies. To tie everything together, resilience is the ability to get back up after being knocked down in order to reach an end goal. Determination comes from a sense of confidence that tells oneself that they are capable of moving forward, while grief, on the other hand, has the ability of making it feel impossible to keep going. One has to go through coping in order to regain some sense of reason for continuing. And then self-esteem also is a key player in being resilient, because with a lack of self-esteem, people question their ability to complete a task. Having good self-esteem makes people feel like they are worthy, and in the end helps them complete their goal. Alrighty, and I would like to, and overall, that's what I have to talk about. I am so happy that, again, that y'all were all able to attend. Thank you so much for your time and have a great rest of your day.